Good afternoon on this Wednesday, October 26th. This is the latest video update on Hurricane Rina. Rina has weakened significantly within the last 12 hours. In fact, the Hurricane Center has had to issue a special advisory adjusting their intensity forecast accordingly. As of the latest reconnaissance flight, it looks like the winds have weakened down to 85 miles per hour. The system is moving off toward the west-northwest at 6 miles per hour. But keep in mind, we still have hurricane warnings in effect across much of the northeast tip of the Yucatan Peninsula, and the official forecast is calling for a minimal hurricane landfall before the storm turns back toward the northeast into the southeast Gulf of Mexico. The hurricane has taken on a much more ragged appearance over the last 24 hours. We no longer see a well-defined central dense overcast or even an eye wall-like feature for that matter, although within the last 3 hours we have seen a return of convection very close to the center of circulation, so it still looks fairly likely that Rina will be able to maintain itself as a hurricane as it heads on off toward Cancun and Cozumel, where they most likely will be receiving Category 1 hurricane force winds. If we look at the broad water vapor overview for much of the northern hemisphere sector, we can see that there is quite a lot of dry air over much of Central America and especially the Gulf of Mexico. So we're only dealing with a very narrow pocket of favorable upper level conditions, and here they are located just to the south of Cuba where our hurricane is located. But the storm is now beginning to move along the western periphery of the favorable upper level ridge, so that is going to make it increasingly more susceptible to dry air and wind shear to the west. And we still have this trough coming down over the southwest United States, so the wind shear is likely to increase over much of the southern Gulf of Mexico within the next 48 hours. The ECMWF model has been the only model to show rapid weakening over the next 72 to 96 hours, so this model appears to be on target, and this is the latest 12Z run, and once again it's showing a rather significant weakening of the system as we go on during the middle part of the day on Friday, and it only has a broad low impacting Cancun and Cozumel. That is still a definite possibility, but as of right now I still think it's best to be preparing for hurricane conditions, especially with that convection still trying to persist near the current center. Also, given the fact that the storm has weakened significantly, this will alter the forecast track to some extent, and it now looks as though a remnant or very weak tropical system could meander around much of the northwest Caribbean or southeast Gulf of Mexico for the next 5 days without showing much in the way of re-intensification, and that is what the European has today. And surprisingly, that is also in fairly good agreement with the latest 12Z GFS forecast, with a meandering tropical system throughout the next 5 to 7 days. And finally, this is the 48-hour GFS shear forecast, and as we can see, much of the upper level winds across the Yucatan and the southeast Gulf of Mexico are extremely hostile for any tropical cyclones that would be located in that area, and sure enough, that is where Rina is headed, and the same can be said as we go through 72 hours. In fact, it only looks as though the upper level winds will become increasingly unfavorable throughout the remainder of the period. So it's looking less and less likely that Rina will make a significant impact on any land areas. It looks like minimal hurricane conditions are still possible along the eastern half of the Yucatan, and southern Florida may get some passing showers over the next week from this system, but certainly nothing overly intense. So the situation is looking a lot better compared to what we had just 24 hours ago, but as always we will continue to monitor the storm's progress as it inches closer to land.